Hi, my name is Gbajabiamila.
Hi, I'm Tola, Gbajabiamila.
And we are, I would say we're founding EP members.
That's correct.
Yep, we started off at New Covenant Church in Streatham, and that's where I developed a relationship with Pastor Abiona. And, over that time, when he started EP, we moved and joined.
Well, he married us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he officiated our wedding and, dedicated both of our children as well. So we have a long-standing relationship with EP, and sadly, in a bittersweet way, I say just over 2 years ago, we had to say goodbye, and we left the UK and moved to the UAE, where we currently reside in Abu Dhabi, and this is our first time back as a family.
Yep.
And just having this opportunity to see the church in a good place, in a good way, see that the church is growing, seeing that the great things are happening has been fantastic for us. But I think it's really good that we can come back and share a testimony of how good God has been to us, how faithful He has been, and to do so in a way to encourage members of the church who are here. I know a couple of other members have moved as well, and I'm sure they have their own personal, individual, and similar testimonies. But as for us, I think it's been great. Would you agree?
I agree. I think it's been great. Can I start by sharing about our move?
Okay, please do.
So a lot of the ladies that knew me before we left knew that I did not want to move to the Middle East. And I share this as a testimony because now, 2 years later, I can say that it was the best move of our life. God really did a great work in me and did a great work on our marriage. And, some of the lessons I can say that I learned through that process. So, as I said, we didn't want to go. It was actually a source of conflict for us. This whole move, leaving friends and family and kind of traveling to the unknown. But God was just so faithful. I would say my first learning would be that... you have to think about where the source of your concern, your struggle is coming from. So for me, it was a place of fear. And we know that the Lord has not given us a spirit of fear. But I was fearful of the unknown and what it would become. And really in those times, I should have drawn in closer rather than pulling away and really have prayed. Just really taken everything to God in prayer. The second thing was around who I was speaking to and who I allowed to speak into our lives and our situation. So for me, because I was afraid, I was speaking to a lot of girlfriends and it was like an echo chamber. Everybody's just telling me what I wanted to hear. Oh my gosh, don't move, don't do it. When actually I should have surrounded myself with more godly counsel, women that were prayerfully interceding on our behalf.
Not haters.
And just praying for us and trusting God with us. And the last lesson I would say is around biblical submission. That's such a hard thing to say nowadays, that wives submit to your husbands, but that is the word of God, right? That's what we believe. And when my husband felt this conviction from the Lord that it was time for us to move, instead of being a source of conflict and contention, it should have been, I could have been honest that I was afraid, but prayerfully approaching it and submitting to His leadership. For me, I think a truly defining point was I actually heard the Lord say go. I heard it very clearly, very audibly. He said go. I was still questioning, what does that mean? But ultimately, the Lord will never allow you to just kind of jump into something without a safety net. He is our safety net. He has us in the palm of His hands. And even though I couldn't see, I cannot see the end from the beginning, but He can. And if He gives you instruction, you follow it. So, like I said, it was the best move we ever made, but I couldn't see that, at the beginning.
Yeah, and, even in saying that, I'm always encouraged to hear my wife share that. But I know that also on my side, it was also a learning experience as well. It was a time in which I learned the importance of collaborating with my wife. The way that we ended up moving is very different from my initial plan to move. And I think even though that time and that period was contentious, what ended up coming out of it was much better than we could ever have imagined. God has been very, very faithful. It's one thing to say you're going to leave the country, you're going to move to a new place, but it's another thing in terms of the details. How do those things work out? Where do you end up living? Where do your children go to school? What does work look like? What kind of friends do you make? And God has just been faithful in every single step. I think also in terms of learning how to lead as well as a husband. You know, it's a process that I don't think we should take lightly, especially as men who, you know, are truly trusting God for that wisdom. But something we should go back to God and pray about regularly. How do I lead this home? How do I lead in my marriage? Where should I be going? Because, you know, what people don't often realize is when you talk about, you know, your wife submitting to you and so on, that means that it's really on your shoulders now. Yeah, the responsibility is really on your chest. And, you know, I was so sure. I had a very strong conviction. But every so often I would doubt, say, if this all goes wrong, like, this is all on my head. And, you know, if I've moved my family to somewhere where it ends up being absolutely terrible, this is a big, bold step. And I don't know what I would do. But when you really trust in God and when you really go back to God and ask God for his guidance, his wisdom, you can really rest assured that even when you are erring, even when you are taking the wrong way, God can redeem it and bring you back to path. So you don't have fear. You don't have anything to be concerned about because you truly trust that God is in control. It's when you believe that it's really on you that you can be concerned about, you know, you getting it wrong. So I think that has been a big learning for me. And the last thing that I would share, I think, is that when we talk about moving to the UAE and how God has been faithful, I think there's an overemphasis sometimes on the financial side of things. You know, people know that, you know, there's tax-free income and, you know, you see all the videos and so on from the UAE of people having a great time. And that is there and that's true. But I honestly and genuinely believe that in terms of it being such a great move for us, it's not just in terms of lifestyle. I think it's strengthened our faith in God. I think it's strengthened our marriage and our home. And I think that ultimately it's not just for us. It's so that we can share it. We can encourage others as well, that we've seen where God has taken us from. Not everybody will know every aspect of the story, but I can tell you that where we are today is not where we started. So God has been very, very faithful in this move. I think that he has shown himself. We've been challenged, you know, to learn how to be a better spouse to each other, but also how to be better parents to our children, how to be better friends to those around us, how to be an employer of people, how to treat people that are working for you, how to love people when they're being difficult. There are many different lessons that we've learned out of it, and I think it's all to God's glory. And I pray that, you know, that journey continues. Yes, it's great to go somewhere and to have a good job and to make good money and all of these wonderful things, but I think I really want to see our family continue to grow in the Lord and to continue to see God's impact in the lives of people around us.
I think I would add to that, for me, in terms of my walk and my spiritual life, number one, evangelism. So, you know, the way I understood evangelism over here is the kind of handing out leaflets, knocking on doors, hey, do you know Jesus? And, you know, it felt a bit awkward to me, to be honest. That's not my natural way and approach. And actually in the Middle East, because most of those things are illegal, I am learning how to be a light of Christ through relationship and through connection. And so because, I have many non-believing friends, we meet regularly, we go for coffee, I'm able to be a light. I don't directly have to say, do you know Jesus? But the moments of saying, eventually you will, but saying, can I pray for you? Like walking alongside people, praying with them, talking with them, building that intimacy and that relationship. And essentially they will know that there's something different about you, and that difference is Christ. It's not me. I think also remembering that we are sowing seeds, but we are not God. It's God, right, who is going to transform hearts. That's not our job. But we sow the seeds. We don't shy away from letting people know that I love Jesus and I would love you to have what I have, and that is Jesus. So really not being afraid to sow those seeds, to pray for people, to walk alongside people and truly be a friend to people, and in that way show light to people.
I think the best place to leave it is with an encouragement to anybody who is watching this. If you are in a tough spot, I want you to know that God is very real, and trusting in him is your best bet. For those who may be considering leaving the country, I can again assure you that when God is involved, when God is the one that's leading on this, you will end up with the best possible scenario.
Yeah.
His plans for you are of good and not of
That's
evil. And so, and to anybody who is watching this and maybe they are in a tough spot with their faith, I would say that please remember that, you know, God's goodness isn't, you know, relegated to simply giving you money or, you know, give me that thing that you asked for, that job you want, or, you know, healing a particular illness. His goodness goes beyond even our first immediate prayer. His goodness is all-encompassing. He takes a whole omniscient view of your entire life. And so I would say don't take a snapshot and say, this is a depiction of my life. God sees the end from the beginning. I couldn't have given this testimony 2 years ago.
Right.
And I still don't know what I will say in 2 years. One thing that I can trust on is that God has been faithful.
That's right.
He is faithful.
That's
And
right.
He'll continue to be faithful.
That's right. Yeah, I agree. God is so good. He is faithful. His ways are not our ways. But He will never leave us or forsake us.
Indeed.